One of these days. That'll be your last effort as mayor.
No. I'll let you continue to struggle.
It's fair.
Have you seen the camera though? How clear it is now?
I haven't watched it the last couple of meetings now.
You should see the meeting before. And looks like a fog and then. Okay. I'm guessing this might be updated. Thank you.
Yeah, I really went through it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. This one has the update. Okay.
No, yeah, definitely. Please.
Don't need this just. Is this tonight? Oh, I forgot to put my voting sticker on. I'd like to call to order the Middletown City Council meeting for Tuesday, November 7th, 2023. Let's start with a moment of meditation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Before we call the roll, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Ms. Thomas and Mr. Moon from tonight's meeting.
Second.
Ms. Skank, you please call the roll.
Mr. Farrell,
Yes.
Mr. Muterspaw,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes. Okay, Ms. Skank, will you please call the official roll for the meeting?
Mrs. Thomas, Mr. Moon, Mr. Muterspaw,
Here.
Mayor Condrey,
Here.
Mr. Farrell.
Here.
It's a small ship this evening. We had a last minute, Ms. Thomas couldn't make it, so we will be three of us, which means this evening we will not be voting on any emergency items, perhaps the first time in Middletown City Council history. We can make a slight joke about that. So you'll see a slightly updated agenda from what we had earlier today. And we'll be, I know staff's been working in the background to still accomplish the mission and get things done in a timely manner. So thank you guys for that. We'll start this evening with our citizen comments. The first one, actually we have one, and that's Mr. Rocky Sexton. You're gonna come on up, state your name and address for the record, and we'd be happy to hear you for up to 4 minutes.
Hopefully I won't take that long. Rocky Sexton, 1912 Winton Street, Middletown, Ohio. Good afternoon, council, whoever's here. First, I would like to say the American Legion and I both have an event Saturday, November 11th, to honor our amazing veterans, and we would love to see the whole city join us if able. American Legion's 10:15 a.m., the honor guard ceremony at the Legion's front lawn, and at 11 a.m., they move it to the Woodside Cemetery. I changed our times to accommodate the Legion because we didn't want to take away from the great things they do. We are having a small parade, starts at Smith Park, 9 o'clock that morning, heading out to Woodside Cemetery at 10 a.m., escorted by our local heroes from the police and fire department for a small ceremony, and then we will join the Legion at 11 at Woodside. We encourage everyone to come help honor our veterans as we should daily. But now that I have the floor, I read on the city website about employee raises, and some of those raises are quite a bit over the next few years. I'm not saying our city staff doesn't deserve to have a raise, but I believe our focus should be more on public safety, to keep our citizens safer and give our police and fire officers the proper tools to do their jobs. We are expanding planning at the I-75 corridor. We need that staff ready and prepared now for the extra coverage area. Number 3, it saddens to see Rodney stepping down because our city needed him to get jump started again. But I know we haven't heard the last of Rodney, that's for sure. We totally understand your reasoning because we all should put our family first before anything else. I personally want to thank you for your time you have given us over the years as an officer and as counsel. Mayor Condrey, Monica, Tal, you guys look different today for some reason. And thank you for your time and dedication to our town as well as you depart council this coming year. We appreciate what you 3 have helped accomplish and wish you well. Number 4, good luck to all the candidates tonight, especially the ones I voted for. Looking forward to seeing what the new faces bring to council, and thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. That brings us to council comments. Mr. Farrell, would you like to start us off?
Sure thing. I didn't get a shout out, Rocky? That's true. All right. Thanks, Mayor. Obviously, congratulations to the future winners of tonight, and also congratulations to everyone that decided to run. Whether you win or lose, just to be in this, that truly shows that you care about your community, and I'd say that means a lot. Really, that's all I have. Just wanted to wish everyone congratulations, and thanks everybody at this city for what they do. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Muterspaw.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll keep it short, but I just wanted to say thank you, Rocky, for the kind words. I appreciate that. And, you know, it seems like every time I speak at council comments, I talk about the fire department or the police department, and I'm going to do it again real quick. But we've had some episodes with a family member and hospital stays, 2 of them, in fact. Real bad incident last Sunday, and if it wasn't for our fire department just getting there so quickly and taking control of things and making things better, I mean, I don't know what would have happened. So, you know, our fire department and our police department, they're phenomenal. And, you know, they came in, they locked my house up for me, so I didn't leave my house unlocked. They rushed my family member to the hospital. This is coming after emergency surgeries while I wasn't at the last meeting. So, you know, I didn't want to do this. This is the last thing I wanted to do. I feel like I'm letting everybody down that supported. I feel like I'm letting, you know, council down. I feel like I'm letting the community down. You know, it was a long conversation with my family yesterday, and it was just, we thought it was best for the time being to do this. I hate the timing of it because with our mayor not coming back and then, you know, the other council members, and it pretty much leaves Councilman Farrell with a new group. It's the last thing I ever wanted. You know, I did talk to the manager today a little bit about it and explained, and he understands. And I feel awful about it, but it's priorities, man. I'm 55 years old. It's priorities. It's time I put my wife first instead of the city. And when you put it that way, it changes things. It's humbling to see her going through things. So that's why I'm doing this. You know, whoever comes on council got big shoes to fill because, you know, the mayor's a big person. Tal and Monica have been here for years, you know. So it's on Zach and whoever's appointed and whoever they do. One thing, I'll address something at new business too, and I don't know if it's appropriate now, Ben, to talk about it, but new business, the reason I'm waiting till the end of the year, and if the mayor and Zach want me to end it now, I will. But the whole reason I said till the end of the year is because after talking to the Board of Elections, they said pretty much the new council would appoint somebody. I didn't know if it was appropriate for 4 outgoing members to appoint somebody to take over, but really Zach he's the only one coming back, so I don't know how you felt about it, Mayor and Zach, but that's kind of why I did that. But I'll do whatever's best for the city. I'm not going to stand in the way of an appointment if it's best now as opposed to then, but I know Councilman Farrell's the only one coming back, so I didn't know if that was going to, if 4 people outgoing should select somebody that they're not going to work with, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But, I just want to thank everybody for the support. The text messages today and the emails, just really humbling from the community and from the police and firemen. And it's good to know that people have your back when you go through stuff. And it's weird being on the other side of these calls as opposed to me going to these calls for 30 years. That's the hard part for me. So I just want to say thank you to everybody, and thank you, Mayor, Zach, and Monica, and Tao. I know you're not here, but I know you're watching probably. But that's all I had. I don't have anything else, but I just needed to kind of explain where I was at with it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
And I know Middletown definitely understands family first mentality. I think we're a city that's all about family. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah. As a reminder, if you haven't been out to vote yet and you're watching tonight, you have till 7:30, so you can come watch YouTube later. Go out and vote. I know, I think back 4 years ago tonight, I was standing outside polling locations, meeting a lot of strangers still. I'm still meeting a lot of strangers in our city. You'll never meet everybody, but it's been a great 4 years just listening to people. And I feel like every human being should get into some aspect of politics at some point in their life, because you learn so much from everybody else, and it's very humbling. And also, just to take part in democracy, it's so important. There's so many levels that we can get involved in our government, and I recommend everybody finding some way to do that at some point. I want to thank everybody who's ever put themselves out there for Middletown, because it is not easy, as we all know. You get your personal life dragged into everything as well, because, well, we're humans, and that's just how it works. But it's not easy, but it really does. It helps you connect with the community, become a more effective citizen, and it's really good experience in the end. So best of luck to everybody who's running. I know Monica, Tal, and I, we're here still until the 31st of December. We're not sure when Mute's here exactly till, but around that time it sounds like. I still have a state of the city to give before I'm done. I know I owe that. I look forward to it. I'm just trying to find my inspiration. So stay tuned for exactly when that's going to be and where, but I'm going to get that information out here as soon as possible. That's all I have this evening. Mr. Lawley.
We have nothing for city managers report this evening.
Whoa, are you sure? Man. Okay, well, that brings us to the consent agenda. Ms. Skink, will you please present that for us?
For your consideration this evening, we have the approval of the city council minutes from November 15th, 2022, to receive and file the Architectural Review Board minutes from August 30th, 2023, to confirm the personnel appointments of Destiny Barron to the position of Secretary in the Development Services Department, Rachel Kuntz to the position of Human Resources Specialist in the City Manager Department, Division of Human Resources, Lonnie Martin to the position of Senior Account Clerk in the Department of Finance, Division of Tax, Lauren Paskey to the position of Senior Account Clerk in the Department of Finance, Division of Water Administration, to confirm the termination of Adrian Ramsey, Water Treatment Operator in the Division of Water Treatment, to receive and file an oath of office for Antoinette Coleman, to approve the purchase of a stop bar radar detection system from Iron Armor of Mogadore, Ohio in the amount of $27,800 for the Electronics Maintenance Division, to approve the final plat for the preserve at Roosevelt Ridge, Section 1, to receive and file the certificate of estimated life and maximum maturity for the fire station improvement project.
This is where we make a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Skink, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Muterspaw,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes. I don't think I've ever motioned to approve one of those. Sorry.
We miss you, Monica. Okay.
On the motion agenda, we have to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Ford Development Corporation to proceed with the city building plaza drain repairs at a cost not to exceed $286,098.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from council? Okay, Ms. Skin, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Muerspaw.
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Item B, to accept the Renaissance Point subdivision plat and public improvements shown thereon, except that the following items shown on the plat are not accepted and should be removed from the final plat before endorsement and recording. Item 1, the parking easement depicted on Lot 2, and 2, the depiction of the private portion of Atrium Boulevard and the public parking and access easement associated therewith. And 3, the public parking and access easement language shown on page 1 of the plat.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Where did this motion item come from? It is not on my agenda.
You don't have it, Mayor?
It's on the one that got printed out today, but it is not on the one I printed out 2 hours ago from the city website.
Right. That was one of the changes.
Okay.
And, because
This is something we had from before, if I'm not, or am I incorrect about that? Or I knew about this at least.
so the packet that went out on Friday,
I just go straight to the city website because I feel like if the citizens can't see it,
I understand.
so that's just where I grabbed it.
I received this update today, so
Okay.
do you have more information?
Yeah, we've had in our negotiations with the Port Authority and the like, and how the deal is being structured here, there was a request by them after this record plat had already gone to Planning Commission, and ultimately you folks consent to its, to the acceptance of the easements and right-of-way dedication and the like at the end of the day. They have a desire for financing reasons and other legal reasons to have that public access parking easement area shown on the current drawing to be recorded not on the plat, but by a separate easement agreement, because there are some legal nuances that have to be addressed in that easement that weren't reflected on the plat language that allow for the financing of the port's deal.
I haven't even seen the diagram, so I do not feel comfortable voting on this.
I'm good to continue it for a couple weeks.
If it's possible to continue it, I don't
this-
know.
yeah, is
I
this a
understand things
time-
need to get done.
Yeah, no, this is perfectly, I mean, it's your folks' discretion, but it's not a,
I'm also willing to, by the way, schedule a special meeting if we need to accomplish any of this stuff that we couldn't get done tonight. I understand that there's some things that need to happen, so,
It will be necessary to schedule a special meeting. Some of the things that were scheduled for tonight cannot wait until the 21st.
sure. Okay. Would that be okay if we
would
include
be
this one
fine.
in there?
oh, yeah.
That'll work.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know.
That way we
how-
can get the information out to the public and to council.
Okay. It sounds like it's probably not an issue. I just
It
feel
was
uncomfortable
originally in the
voting on
consent agenda.
it.
It was right after the preserve, right either before or after the preserve in your original agenda.
But it has some change.
But
Okay.
it did not have all of that other taking
Right,
this stuff out and moving things around. It didn't have that.
And conceptually, just so for whenever you're ready to consider it, again, it was proposed for approval in its entirety under the consent agenda earlier. What's being done is it's being proposed with 3 exceptions out of it. So what you were previously being proposed was, hey, we like everything on this. Now we like everything on this except for 3 things. So this is kind of, I guess, if you will, a lesser version of what was being previously proposed. The other 3 matters would still come to you, but time not being of the essence, if you want to table it till the next meeting, there's nothing wrong with that either.
It's fine. We can just table it if it's not. I mean, it's,
Okay, I see. So
Easement,
now I know
just
where
table
to
it.
find, okay, yeah, if that's okay, that would be great. Thank you. Do we have to make a motion to do that?
Sure. Yes, I would just make a motion to continue motion agenda item B to the next meeting.
I'll make a motion to continue motion item B to the next meeting.
Second.
Ms. Kanku, please call the roll.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Mr. Farrell,
Yes.
Mr. Muerspaw.
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to legislation. Thank
Sure.
you.
You've got 12 items on the agenda, the first being ordinance number 2023-96, an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $10,400,000 for the purpose of paying the costs of constructing fire facilities, furnishing and equipping the same, improving the sites thereof, and acquiring interests in land as necessary in connection therewith, together with all necessary appurtenances. This is a second reading.
So moved.
Second.
We have nothing further to add.
Any comments or questions from council? Okay, Ms. Kanku, please call the roll.
Mr. Farrell,
Yes.
Mr. Muerspaw,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
Item 2 is ordinance 2023-97, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing purchases of asphalt by the city purchasing agent in 2024. Again, a second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Nothing further to add.
Any comments from council? Okay, Ms. Kanku, please call the roll.
Mr. Muerspaw,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Mr. Farrell,
Yes.
Item 3 is ordinance 2023-98, an ordinance establishing the pay ranges, pay policy, and benefits for various salaried and hourly classifications within the service of the city. Again, a second reading.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions, Mr. Lally?
Okay, so this is the second reading of the pay ordinance that was presented at the last council meeting. As stated at the last meeting, there are some significant changes in the pay and benefit ordinance, most notably in the elimination of the two pay ordinances that we've had for the last several years for all non-union employees, which reduces us from 20 steps to 8, 9. And then secondly, it puts all positions into a more market competitive balance to recruit and retain employees through the implementation of the salary study.
I guess I'll start. If that's okay, if I start. I reviewed this over and over, and, you know, as somebody who thinks that our employees are way underpaid, I've said that up here 1,000 times, and I've said it for years, and I know staff feels that they're underpaid too, and I get it. And the hard part is I don't want to sit here and pick apart raises, because I know how we can't keep employees, we can't retain them because of salary is one of the reasons, so I get that. I think one of the things is we've gotten a lot of phone calls and messages and emails over the last few days when this came out, not from, I should say from other employees throughout the building who weren't included in this or who have gotten a certain amount of raises. So, for example, dispatch, they got a 3, 3, and 3, which equals to about $5,100 over the course of that. One of the, and I know our police chief well, and I know if he could pay them 10, 10, and 10, he would do it. I know he values the employees. So it's not really on that. It's, the question was these particular raises that are, you know, over a course of 2 or 3 years, 14%, 16, whatever it might be. That's the question we're getting from some employees. And I know employees really shouldn't be reaching out to council, but I think they're concerned that, you know, hey, we got 9% over 3 years, and we're out here taking, you know, medic runs and needles everywhere and so forth. How come they're getting this? And so I guess I'm just trying to ask in the correct way, how do we justify a...
Once again, we fully understand it. I will say this, that most employees, and once again, this is non-union employees.
Right.
There have been a number of years over the last 10 years where union employees received significant pay increases and the non-union employees received 0%. Additionally, have tried to do is most employees are receiving a 3% pay raise January 1st. All right. And once again, I'm referring right now just to non-union employees. There are certain employees in there who are receiving a little bit more than that because of where they fall into the new step, because we're trying to get the salary study implemented and make employees more market competitive with other communities. With that said, the other differences, and this we've always had, we've always had employees progress through the steps. So you've always had that 4.7% in there between steps. So a lot of these employees, they're at top pay, and they got their 4.7 steps as they climbed the ladder. That's what some of these employees are continuing to do now, but with the rearrangement of implementing the salary study, yes, you'll see some employees fall back into some of those ranges. But once again, we're trying to address all employees, stay consistent with all employees, so that we don't say, well, this person's paid this much, so let's only give them, a 2-point-some%. We're being consistent, and that's why you see things like that. We can't fix and correct everything, but for the most part, those 4.7% between the steps have always been there since I hired on in 1989, and I had to work my way up through the ranks.
I did too. And I think one of the, first of all, the 5% that council approved, that was the non-negotiated raise, where all of us council, just like we want to do something nice. Did everybody get that?
Yes.
Okay, so non-union and union
Yes.
got that. Okay.
The only group that didn't get it at that time was AFSCME, and we worked that into their contract because they were going through contract negotiations at about the time we did that.
Yeah, I think that my questions come from the sense that, and I agree with I see what you're saying, Paul. I do 100%. And please don't let people think that we're trying not to give raises. That's not the case
I understand
at all.
it. It's frustrating.
But I don't want to see, as a resident and a taxpayer in the city, is a divided city building and low morale. I'm not saying that's going to happen.
Right.
But I'm saying that's what I want to ever avoid, because I just. And I know if you have a master's and a bachelor's, you get certain steps, and that's great, that's fine. I understand all that. And we need to keep our people here, whether it's you or whether it's the person that's, back in the jail making, less than anybody. I just want to make sure that's fair as far as that goes, because I know when you look at it on paper, for example, and I did look at it on paper, and I forgot my iPad at home, so I'm sorry I don't have it in front of me. But it's when you look at, okay, that 3% or that 4.7%, but the steps, if you classify at 165 and then you jump to 161, 162, I guess just because of my experience with the city, I've never seen jumps of 3 or 4. I know when I was the chief and the deputy chief, I never saw jumps like that. And maybe it's changed because of the salary study.
Right.
And that's what I'm thinking.
That's it right there.
I know the current chief, his pay and the deputy chief was like this.
Right.
The chief should be up here.
Yes.
And he shouldn't be making what the deputy chiefs are making, and I'm sure the chief will agree with me on that. But the thing is I want to make sure that that's how it's fair, because some of the calls and the emails, people were sending us numbers, and I looked them up, and the numbers are factual. I think there's just a concern that the people out there, the medics and the dispatchers or whoever.
And actually, this is a good thing for the union, and they're going to look at this and bring it to negotiations. It's going to be a little tougher for Beverly and Ben's crew, but they benefit from that. And once again, we can't fix everything, but we strongly feel with this we're going in the right direction, and we did this with a balanced budget.
Here we go. To all Rodney's points, he's been in the city building. He knows more about the steps and all that. I've studied a lot over the last couple of weeks, but everybody in this building deserves to be paid what they're worth. Everybody, I can go on a soapbox about that, right? Nobody wants to hear that. But the truth of the matter is, to Mr. Sexton's point earlier, are we robbing Peter to pay Paul? And I guess I look, and I don't want to point out certain positions, and I'm not going to, but when I look at some positions are getting a 12% pay raise in 1 year, and then we have the people that are out there busting their knuckles to save our citizens, and they're getting a 3% raise. I don't even want to talk in terms of fairness, but I guess I don't understand it. So what I'm ultimately going to do, I want to see, and I've been asking for these numbers for like a week, and I've finally been getting them in the last 2 days, and I really appreciate you, Sam, getting me all this information. But I'd like to motion to table that. I'm not ready to vote on this, to be honest with you. So I want to see more financials. I want to see more of these breakdowns to understand it better, because and I don't really feel that it's fair for just 3 of the 5 members to vote on this tonight, because this is something that's going to affect the city in the future, and we only have 3 of the 5 members. But I'm going to motion to table this, but I'm just trying to understand this better. I understand we have salary studies, all those things.
I don't believe there is anybody getting a 12% pay raise.
Okay.
Where somebody may go up 12% is the fact that they're getting their 3% pay raise. And then in August, they go from step B to C, and that may raise it to that. But that's always been the case. There has always been years where Paul Ollie went from step C to D. I got the union 4% pay raise, and then, hey, I got my step increase, which might have made it 10, 12%. That has consistently happened here in Middletown, and it happens in every city, every community, not just in public service, but when you proceed through steps like that in private industry.
I think the thing is, Paul, is when you look at it, and the way the steps work here, and the way the 3%, the cost of living allowance, and the steps, I think when you look at, unless we got the wrong numbers, there are a couple instances where somebody is getting, it's a $18,000, $20,000 difference between their pay today and their pay at the end of next year. So whether you look at it as a step raise or whatever, that's a big jump. And I get that, and they're probably well deserving of it. But, we have employees working, out in the field, whether it's public works or
Right.
parks or people doing that, and you look at their jump and it's like $2,000.
Yeah, but those instances are because that person went from one position to a higher position. Kind of like when a firefighter or a police officer go from patrolman or firefighter to lieutenant or sergeant. You see those significant increases, or someone goes from the assistant director of one department to director, and then timing is a big thing with that also. When you couple that with yearly cost of living increases, then it does look like it's a significant pay raise, and it is, but it's a timing issue with us. And we can't go back and say, well, hold on here. We can't, 10,000 was enough for you when a couple of years ago we might have done that and changed the rule on certain people because we think that's too much of an increase for them.
So, question: city manager decides what letter they're at, correct?
I decide what?
So the letter they're at on the
So,
sheet.
You come in at step A, the city manager has certain authorities to start you
At step C or
At-
whatever.
at
I think
step
that's what
C
the
or-
collective
or
bargaining. Yeah. Okay. So, but my question is: so once you're at C, going up D, E, F, G, H, I. So is that a yearly thing, or is that based upon your discretion?
generally at the end of when your anniversary date, when you're going to go from step B to C, okay, an evaluation is done on you, and the supervisor may recommend 1 step or 2 step, anything above the 1 step, the city manager has to sign off on.
Okay. So if I'm at Okay, so that was my question maybe. But if I'm at step C today, okay, I'm an
Right.
employee, whatever, I'm in development. So I'm at C. So theoretically, in 6 years, then I would be at I if I stay in the same position, or not. So yes is the
Yeah,
answer.
essentially, yes.
Okay, so okay.
Part of the financial package is life insurance. Is that correct?
Yeah, part of the benefits
Part of
package.
the benefits package. It seems to be one of the disparities that was brought to the attention was some get $50,000 life insurance, others get $100,000. What stipulated that difference between that? What employees?
I think we're just basing on past practice in the city.
Anybody?
Yeah, that's all. I mean, Sam, can you?
So the differential, I can answer that. I can save her some steps. The differential, and this is something that has historically been in the PBO. There's a little bit higher premium amount, or not premium amount, but payoff amount for the life insurance. For, let's just say, God forbid, the city manager dies. Sorry, Paul. And the city actually receives those, that payout on that death benefit, and the theory is those dollars can be used to supplement staffing, hire a contracted employee to come in or whatnot. Same way for our department heads. So if Scott Tadish were to keel over tonight out of boredom back in the back row, he's a professional engineer as well, and so we may be in a situation to have to use those proceeds on a temporary basis to hire some firm.
So wait a minute, the life insurance policy goes back to the city, not the individual?
Goes to the individual.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misread that. Just strike it.
I've never heard of a life insurance policy going back to the
No,
government.
you're right.
I've never heard of that.
It's been a long day.
No, it's okay. I want to make sure I was correcting. So I guess that was my thing was,
Yeah.
we have a medic or a park employee or a public works guy out there cutting trees down, and cuts a tree down, it falls on him, and it gets seriously hurt and passes away or whatever. Unfortunately, he gets a $50,000 life insurance policy compared to others who get $100,000. I guess that's what I'm trying to see. What's the difference? Why is there? I mean, I think it's just
The way it's been.
a question.
I think it's a historical thing through the city. It's been that way since I know I was here in 1989. A firefighter got this much, a lieutenant and an officer had an increase.
I don't want to interfere in day-to-day operation, and I've not done that. But I'm just kind of curious if I'm kind of partial to the people out in the field getting life insurance that the people inside the building get. And that's just one person, could be totally wrong, but the people out there that are risking it daily, I kind of just find it odd that, maybe it's because of past practice, I didn't know it was even there when I was here, but that they get less than somebody that isn't out there risking it. I know that, and I'm going to be on a personal note, I know that the medics that came into my house and busted through my door, I mean, lifesavers, and you were one of them.
But once again, those individuals you're talking about are contractual. They're not covered by this.
Oh, they're not, so it's just non-union?
This is non-union.
Okay.
This is those non-union employees. The employees you're referring to, that's what they agreed to in their contract.
Okay, so this is everybody that's non-union.
That is correct.
Okay, is there anybody non-union that's that does that, like out in the field, or? And I know I'm probably boring you to death with the questions, but these are questions that have been asked of us to ask management. If I'm beating a dead horse.
Yeah, there may be some water treatment employees who go around and do testing at different well sites and stuff like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know these are uncomfortable, but they're questions we've been asked, and we have a responsibility to ask it.
Absolutely, and that's why we put it in front of you. And we struggled with the public safety aspect. Rocky, I appreciate that, but and we, we're putting 3 additional officers in the 2024 budget. And, I think that gets us to the 80 you were referring to back in July. And to be quite honest with you, I strongly believe we need to have 90 officers out on the street. In the department, not out on the street. But, that's what our authorized strength, and we hope in the next 5 years to get there. But with this, we have to do a balance. We have to do a balancing act. We have to have a strong public safety force. We have to have a strong finance department. We have to have a strong development services, planning, zoning, code enforcement. We have to be able to retain these employees.
Well, and you've been doing this a long time. The reason we ask these questions is because we owe the public, our community, our taxpayers, these answers. And that's why we have to ask them, because when Rick writes an article about this is what that's going to be like, how did this happen? So we need those answers, as quick as we can get them. So
and so we had employee meetings where we explained the PBO to employees, and we had some tough questions. Some people weren't happy about a couple things, and we tried to do some things in the entire PBO to take care of employees. But actually, overall, they were very supportive of this pay ordinance.
What's the overall cost increase to the city for this?
Hold on, I want to be accurate, but
I'll let my mathematicians.
we can.
Well, I guess if I can be straight up honest, right? So I guess I will be. One of the biggest problems that people have come to me with, and I have a different circle than him. I mean, we talk to some of the same people, but these step increases, it's, once again, I'm not saying they're not garnered, but when you're going up, in some cases, 4 step increases, I don't want to say that it's not a liability, but the cost to the city today, it's okay, that's something we can bear. But then let's say, if that same person, that's why I asked the amount of years, if that same person is in that same spot for 5 years from now, they have 4.7% increase after increase after increase, which when you're moving up the steps only becomes that much more. And then, like you said, once again, I talked to a police officer today that truthfully told me, he said, I love those pay increases for upper staff because we're going to just go ahead and give it to them next year in negotiations. And I'm just afraid, truthfully, that we're going to put ourselves in a position of, and I love the fact that we are getting people to where they need to be, but we've always said that all these things we were trying to do were either cost neutral or we were going to phase it in. And I just wonder, in doing both of these raises and step increases, if it's doing too much at once.
So once again, that's something we've always dealt with over the years, the step increases. And once again, we're phasing this in so we do it fiscally responsible. And that's a big point behind. We did this with a balanced budget.
But I want to caution that phrase, balanced budget just means we took it from somewhere else, that we already didn't have enough money going toward. So that's why I'm asking what the cost difference is, because, things like we pulled out of the Great Miami Riverway. We're the only city not a member of the Great Miami Riverway who's along the river now. That's embarrassing. That's why I just want to be cautious. When we say balanced budget, it's pulling from somewhere. So let's be careful when we...
Well, we certainly shift things around, and maybe we did that because it wasn't being used in particular funds. And that's why we found that there's some of these funds that we need to put to better use.
Right. And so, in my opinion, some of the places that it got pulled from were better, could have been potentially better uses. But I still don't know what the financial impact is, because I look at that section of the staff report and it doesn't say. So it's hard, this is a lot for us to digest sitting up here because we still don't fully understand the impact. It feels a little bit like we're sitting on Capitol Hill and there's like things being slid in, and it's not the intent, I'm sure, but like it's hard for us to decide the real impact to the city because we don't know. When we say balanced budget, where did it get pulled from? When people look to council and say, oh, well, you have the budget in front of you, like you must know all the parts and pieces. It's such a high level overview that council gets. We see almost none of the weeds. So we don't actually know what is not getting funded as a result.
And we'll have that
Or the
number.
extent of
We'll
it.
have that number here momentarily. We're
Okay.
checking our email. We went back and forth on that one. While we're waiting on that one, it would help, I think, staff, as you folks are navigating this and we're trying to provide you good information. I just want to make sure everybody understands, like if we turn to Exhibit A in the ordinance, if you would be so kind, I just want to make sure we understand the mechanics of what we're talking about. Because this has been an educational process with some of our employees as we've explained this. And I know we're throwing out there, step increases or whatnot. But let's just take a position, or one of our positions, won't even say which it was is going from the old pay grade of 186 and is being proposed to go to 184. And let's just say they're in step F right now. So let's take 186 on the sheet. Gotta get the right sheet here. So 186F, with the COLA, let's just say with the COLA, it would be at that 2214 number, okay? Or excuse me, 2115, I'm sorry. And then they're going to step 184. They're not going to go to 184F. They will go to 184D, the same exact dollar amount. And I think some of the discussions we've had internally here amongst staff members, in the building, is that I think that's lost on a lot of folks, is that you're not staying in the same, if you're moving a pay range, you're not staying in that particular step necessarily. You are staying at that same pay range, but it may be a lower step within a higher pay range. So there's not that immediacy. What is good for both our pre-18 employees and our post-18 employees is that this proposal provides a little bit more room for growth, which is part of the salary study's recommendation, is that, we had about a 20-some% span between start and finish, whereas this is going to be around 40%, which is a little bit more, market competitive. But I think just wanted to make sure we understand that as a baseline as we're trying to help folks make a decision. And I'm still waiting here, but.
Thank you, Nathan. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I want to see it though.
Okay.
I think truthfully, until the last week, I didn't understand what any of this meant. And this is the future of what Middletown is. And I guess my thing is we're going down range as well as how do I say this? If we're giving 3% raises and we're bumping up people with the ability to make more, I think that's great. But to go up dramatically multiple steps in the range, where does that put us in 4 to 5 years? That's truthfully my worry. So we've always said up here, we don't know what the future of Middletown is. That's why we're very conservative on our budget, et cetera. Yet we're going up multiple range numbers on the scale. That's my worry. I look at certain positions and I don't mean to sound like this, but I don't know that we can afford this in a few years. And that's my only worry. So
I understand that, and we feel that what we're putting together and going forward with is well within our financial plan.
I saw a request to add a car allowance for
Right,
both
for the 2
city
assistant city managers.
managers.
That's standard with what a lot of other communities do. For example,
So
the
that's
city
an
manager,
additional-
I have one, and I know they do in Hamilton and other communities, instead of taking a vehicle home. With us, traditionally, it was always an option with not only the city manager, but it was also with some of the department heads, the police chief, the fire chief.
Really trying not to come off as being petty. This is very important, I think, for some employees to know, where we're at, and that's.
And I think just for the answer to the previous question too, across all funds, it's approximately about $150,000. That's inclusive of the COLA. Now, not all of that is general fund.
That's annually, Nathan?
That's the difference. If you compared it to what
Okay.
23 number is, would be the 24 number. Probably, I'm gonna look at Sam, probably about 40% of that, 35 to 40% would hit our enterprise funds or certain special revenue funds, not the general fund.
Okay.
Okay, there's clearly a lot of questions, and I think it's good discussion, and I think it's important for everything. I know council obviously wants to increase salaries. There's no question there. How we do it and what exactly that looks like is a challenging discussion. We're missing 2 of our council members tonight, and this is a major decision for the city. Is this something that we can continue to discuss and include in that extra meeting that we're going to throw in? Is that going to hurt the timeline? Where are we at with the timeline?
So I think certainly we have enough time. It would probably change to an emergency.
I can't think of offhand a reason why it can't be done at a later time.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
I think the key would be to try to make it effective, whatever decision council ultimately renders, to have it effective before the end of the year so that it could start January 1.
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to hold this up for a month or something. I just want to have all my ducks in a row.
Yeah, if it's not going to start until January anyway, and we can have time to talk about it with the other council members.
So, should I motion to continue this to said special meeting that we don't know date of?
I'd see no reason why it can't be considered even just at the next regular meeting. We don't know, I think, yet if we need a special meeting. Correct me if I'm wrong, for any of the previously proposed emergency
Just motion to continue it
matters.
until the next meeting, whenever that is. Unless that becomes in like 2 days and we don't have everything figured out. So the next regularly scheduled meeting?
I actually agree with that. It gives us more time, so we'll do it on the 21st. So,
I'll second the motion to move it to the 21st. Is that,
we good?
That'll work.
Okay.
Ms. Skank, please call the roll.
Mr. Peterspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
And I didn't want to stifle continued questions. If you still have questions you want to ask during the session, I'm all for it. I just felt a little bit of a lull in processing phase going on, so I thought I would kind of, do you guys have anything else you want to?
Mayor, thank
Okay.
you.
I think then we may want to also, the Department of Health,
Yeah, I would.
is that, do you feel like you want to move with,
I think we need to do
They
the
go
same
hand in
thing.
hand.
I agree.
otherwise
Do the
you're
same thing.
Approving it for one group but
Yeah,
not
we
the
should
other.
have done
So I'll
both.
motion to continue that to the November, that ordinance number 0202399 to November 21st meeting.
And I'll second that. Ms. Kim, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Peterspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
I definitely welcome citizens, and I welcome staff input as well. I know people hesitate to think that they're allowed to reach out to council. I don't, if you want to write it anonymously, I don't care. I definitely welcome input on this one. It's a lot to process. And We want to make sure we're doing the right thing for city staff and for the citizens and the budget. So any input, I'm happy to listen to. Okay. Are we at?
By my count, I think we're at 5 if we're ready to move on.
Yes, 5. Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Item 5 is Resolution R 2023-31, a resolution authorizing the city manager to apply for a matching grant and enter into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation, Office of Aviation for the Taxilane B1 realignment project at Middletown Regional Airport for SVY 2024. This is a second reading. SFY, by the way, not V. Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
I don't have anything to add from last meeting.
Any comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Mr. Farrell,
Yes.
Mr. Muerspaw.
Yes.
Item 6 is Resolution Number R 2023-32, a resolution adopting an update to the policy required by Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, as amended for the Middletown Transit System. Second reading.
So moved.
Second. Sorry.
Once again, nothing further to add.
Any comments or questions from council? Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Farrell,
Yes.
Mr. Muerspaw,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
Seventh item is ordinance number O 2023-101, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing the purchase of de-icing cart from Textron ground support equipment and declaring an emergency. No action requested till the November 21st meeting.
Council, this is to purchase a de-icing cart ground equipment system at the airport for $79,000. This request is due to project completion dates in the winter months coming on. This will significantly improve our service capability during our winter months coming up and increase business revenue going forward.
Do we have any idea about the demand that we have for this, as far as what, if there have been requests made in the past? And also, do we charge for that service?
Yeah, we would charge for that service, dependent upon, it all depends on the size of the plane and certain conditions. What we found, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint, but our airport manager and our FBO partners, in their discussions and meetings at various events with dispatchers and schedulers that handle this region of the country, without a de-icing capability, our GA airport for them is frankly off limits within their operating parameters, out of fear that they may get iced in or snowed in if they were to drop the plane in overnight. And so it kind of takes us off the map for certain operations and certain end users during the winter months. So I'm sorry, Mayor.
Is it an FBO function, though, to perform the de-icing?
Yes, it would be.
And so, I guess, why are we buying it instead of the FBO company?
We, with our contract with AMS, is that we almost all of the equipment at the airport is city-owned because
Okay.
the FBO
I forgot
operator
about
at one point in time may not be here, and I don't want to scare them, but we may cancel the contract at some point in time and bring in another operator or bring it back in-house. So,
Okay, so they're maintaining it all? Is that how it's going? Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't remember
Yeah.
all that. Okay. And then, so by us purchasing this, the FBO is charging for it and they're making the money off of it?
And then there's an annual settle up under our agreement where we settle up proceeds beyond the month-to-month settlement on fuel sale revenues as well as these other ancillary service revenues.
Okay, so are we essentially like leasing it to them, or how is it, or is it a per use?
Think of it this way, is that, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example. Good example is we're buying a bunch of lawnmowers, but we're contracting out to people who are actually going to mow, and they actually go find clients in the business to do it, but then we then get a cut, but we still own their mowers.
Sure. I guess my question is, are we getting paid per use, or are we leasing
Yes.
it on a monthly rate?
No, we would own the asset, we would own this de-icing system.
It's like a profit sharing system.
Yeah, there is.
So if it doesn't snow or get cold, we have an asset that we're not using or getting paid.
Exactly, precisely. I mean, yeah, that is the risk. If we get a winter that's rather warm and not a lot of precipitation, then yeah, we're out.
All right, we'll bring on the snow.
Well, except
I'll tell
for then
Scott
we've
that.
got to plow the roads, so we lose on that. So.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions? Okay.
All right, moving on to item 8, ordinance number O-2023-102, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of notes in the amount not to exceed $14,840,000 in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of designing, engineering, constructing, acquiring, renovating, and improving various municipal infrastructure, permanent improvements for the Renaissance Arena District project, including water mains, sanitary sewer, and storm sewers, public roads and streets, and related curbs and gutters, grading, landscaping, and otherwise improving the sites thereof, and equipment and appurtenances as may be necessary in connection therewith, and authorizing and approving related matters and declaring an emergency. No action till November 21st.
Yeah, so this is essentially putting us into position to put the bonds forward for the public infrastructure needed for the Renaissance Point project.
Any comments or questions from council?
Ninth item is ordinance number O-2023-103, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing an extension of the contract with CBN Managed Services, now known as Summit Food Services, for jail food service in 2024. First reading.
Mr. Lawley.
Okay, this is to extend the food service contract for the jail for 2024. We are very satisfied with the Summit Food Service and feel that this one-year extension is in the best interest of the city. There is no price increase for 2024. The last time we put this out for bid, they were the only group that bid, and it's been pretty consistent that way for the last several cycles.
Didn't we waive the bid on this the last time as well?
They were the only company that bid. Was it 2017? 2 years ago?
Are you sure we bid it? I thought there was a whole thing about the fact that we haven't bid it out in a long time.
Well, I think,
I
was that
definitely-
that or was that the medical?
No, it was the food. No, for sure I'm thinking of the food one. So 2017 was the last time, right? I can go back and look myself, but I thought we had a discussion
Okay, a
about.
renewal period of 3 additional 1 year was in 21. So 21, 22, 23.
So I know we renewed the contract, but did we bid it out in 21?
Okay.
We bid it out, and they were the only ones that bid. I know when Joe Mulligan was here, we compared prices with getting stuff through Butler County Jail and then transporting them here and doing a bunch of different things. And Summit was the only company that bid. There's no increase this year. We were going to rebid it if they did have any increase, but they did not.
Maybe I'm thinking of COVID when they wanted us to pay for the fact that their business
Less people
suffered.
in jail. We had less in jail, but we were paying for less meals, so that was
Okay.
an issue back in 2020.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. The interesting thing is it's $2.72 per meal. I can't fathom somebody being able to beat that price too much. But I get it. That's why you
Yeah,
put
it's
bids
just
out.
more, I just want to make sure we're not just waiving the bid forever and always, not that it seems like a great deal, I just doing a check on that, okay.
Item 10, ordinance number O-2023-104, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing extension of the current contract with Smart Bill Limited for the printing and mailing of water bills. First reading.
Once again, this recommends the 1-year extension of our current contract with Smart Bill for printing and mailing of water bills. There is no increase for 2024.
Comments or questions?
Item 11, ordinance number O-2023-105, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a contract with Polydyne, Inc. for the purchase of polymer for use at the water reclamation facility for the year 2024. First reading.
This is the purchase of chemical polymer for not to exceed $152,500 at the water refinery facility. Polymer is a chemical that is used in the separation process. They essentially, Polydyne Inc. is a sole service technically provider, as their product is the only polymer that we found that works well in our system. And that's our reason for sticking with them.
Always love when you sound like a chemistry teacher during meetings. My favorite.
I was worried you were going to ask me about what do you mean by separating the solids.
Hearing nothing else, last item, item 12, is resolution number R 2023-34, a resolution to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Middletown, counties of Butler and Warren, state of Ohio, for the period ending December 31st, 2024. This is the annual budget for 2024 and is a first reading.
I don't have anything further to add on the budget. If you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to entertain them.
Okay, that I believe is the end of our legislation. Do we have any new business items?
I have one quick thing. About a year ago, I think all three of us up here have asked about the Amanda bus route for the Amanda area, and let's see if there's any progress on that. I talked to somebody from that area about a week and a half ago, and they asked if there was going to be a bus route, and I know we had talked about it, but wasn't sure.
Yeah,
It's pretty important to them.
I thought there's one that's close to that area.
Yeah, there is a current route, I forget the number, Councilmember Meterspaw, that comes down Yankee Road, and I believe, I'm going to get my crossroads right, but I believe there's a stop in the vicinity of Pershing.
Thought it was Pershing.
And then it goes down a little bit further, so that would be the one Amanda neighborhood stop. It then does a U-turn through the Oneida Plat, or Anita, or whatever I'm supposed to call it.
Nita?
That goes down a side street and then comes back up and then heads back northbound on Yankee. Probably it stops. It's probably about 3 to 4 blocks short of Oxford State. It's kind of its terminus, and then it makes its loop back northernly.
Well, that's actually good news.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Has that always been a thing?
yeah, or at least for some time.
It's been that
Yeah,
over a year, I believe.
yeah.
Yeah, when we met, I know all three of us had met with different people on there, and we met at the Salvation Army buildings, different places. There was none down there. And a lot of the people, that's a 3rd, 4th, 5th generation neighborhoods.
Yep.
So a lot of them,
Yeah.
some people don't have cars, it's some elderly and stuff, so, okay.
Now, I will say, though, there's something that we will have to talk with RTA is, since that area is kind of at the end of a route or whatnot, the last bus is not necessarily the last scheduled, maybe elsewhere in the city that's more centrally located, so the
Okay.
last fare might be, a little bit earlier in the evening.
So speaking of that, did we have an update from RTA about, I know as an employer in Middletown, I've had a hard time with employees having to not work a full workday because the bus routes end early. And I feel like that's a kind of hard to fathom, because the whole point is so that, in my mind, we want people who, to actually work. I know we said we were going to ask Butler County RTA about the ability to extend half an hour, even an hour on the routes. Did that come up in the last meeting?
Yeah.
We had some discussion with them, but it essentially didn't gain much traction.
I mean, they don't even operate, like, somebody can't work a 9 to 5 and take the bus system. That's a little,
We'll need to go back with Matt unless you.
yeah.
We have a meeting with Butler County Transit on Thursday, and we'll bring this back up.
Okay. I would love to even, if we have citizens who are using the bus system and running into this problem, I wish I could go, but I actually lost the employee because she couldn't take the bus route and make it to work. So if there are other people in that situation, we could bring them to, like, the use cases to to Butler County RTA and say, hey, here's the situation. It doesn't seem like it would be that hard of a fix. I mean, it can't be that expensive. I'm sure there's a lot involved, don't get me wrong, but I feel like the system isn't functioning maybe at its full extent to be impactful. The other thing that brought to mind was, I feel like talking about Amanda, we kind of keep brushing over the sewage issue down there and still haven't talked about it. We've kicked that can for so long, and I know it's not an easy solution, but we owe it to the health of that community to figure it out, because
That's going to be a serious conversation that we're going to have because that's going to be a multi-million-dollar project.
right. And
I think
if
it's
we
something
need to
that are
start lobbying
strategic.
for funds now, I don't know what it is, but we have to do something.
Yeah, I
Wouldn't the
believe,
state come?
Is that like a capital budget item we could ask or something?
what's that?
A capital budget item because they're in a city and they've been annexed into a city. Obviously, if you're in a township, you can't go ask for it, but
Yeah, I'd say most definitely it's going to have to be a capital budget project.
Your estimates.
But I think it's something that we're going to have to put as a priority in our 2024 strategic planning session in January.
I mean, what's that going to be? $8-9 million?
Scott, do you have any? Just keep going north.
Okay. Should we throw a 1 in front of that? Okay, that sounds good.
Quite possibly.
So half of our yearly city budget.
We're actually negligent
Yeah.
on it. It's been that long. So, from a health perspective, yeah. I'll just make a quick comment about the appointment of a replacement for Mr. Muterspaw. I personally, I don't mind deferring that to the next council. I want, they're the most recently elected. Perhaps that's the best way. I also, I could go either way on that. I have the same.
I didn't hear
I
what
don't-
you said. I'm
I
sorry.
said I don't mind personally allowing the next council to appoint a person. At the same time, I don't know how long that will take. I don't know. There's no set process. I did talk to Mr. Yoder earlier today, and basically the charter just says council will appoint the person. So however the council, whichever council that is, whatever process they want to go about doing that, I would say it's probably executive session worthy because it's the appointment of a public official.
We'll have to think through, I mean, Article 2, Section 3 basically says when there is a vacancy, council shall appoint that person to serve the remainder of the term. So it's really in some senses dependent upon first, whenever Councilmember Muterspaw decides to actually vacate the office. And then after that, it's up to council to decide how they want to go about doing that. In full candor, I'd want to look a little bit more of, is that something that we want to do in executive session and lawfully can we do? Maybe we can, but obviously I want to look into that and make sure. I think there's I just want to make sure.
Obviously, no voting can occur in executive session.
Of course, but even establishment of the process, when it comes to something like that, I want to make sure that we're allowed to do that in executive session if you all
Right,
want
yeah.
to before I actually say yeah.
Mr. Yoder, I know that you deal with this all the time, but years ago, my wife was on the Trenton City, she was a clerk of council for Trenton for like 12 years. And they had this happen twice. And I asked her this week, and she said basically they took applications, they put something out, said if anybody's interested, apply, like you would like a board or commission, and then council went into executive session and discussed.
Yep.
And she said it took about a month.
That's what the
But I don't-
school board did recently, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't,
Yeah.
I'm fairly
I know that.
confident you'll be able to go, if you want to go into executive session to discuss certain parts of the appointment process. I know there's some contradictory advice that's out there, and I just want to make sure that I advise you appropriately before proceeding.
well, I don't think I should be involved in that at all. I don't think I should help pick my replacement.
Yeah,
The other four, the next group or whoever.
Let me add this, and I think it's a perspective we need to consider. And I really value all four of the outgoing council members' experience and expertise. And I would hope we would use that to help choose the next person. I think what's going to happen, we'll get four new people who don't really have experience as city council people, and therefore, you know, your expertise and knowledge, what you've been through over the last 2 to 4 years, will be very valuable for the next council. I just wanted to add that in as a thought.
I understand that, but from my perspective, as a resident in Middletown, I don't want to leave and then help pick my replacement, because then it looks like I've left or I'm just throwing somebody in my spot that I want, and I don't want to have anything to do with that. I want to do it right, and so that's my opinion. I don't want to give any perception of that at all.
Yeah, you really decide when do you want to vacate the office, and then the remainder of council gets to decide
I'll just do whatever they want to do.
how they go
Well,
about that.
Well,
Yeah.
if I have a say in this, because I'm the only one who has to deal with them, except for everybody, all the workers. But first of all, it's your decision, and only you can make that decision for yourself, right? I think a part of it to consider is, do you feel like you want to be in this for the next month and a half? And if you do, then I think you need to stay. And if not, then you know, your decision once again. I will say that obviously you're weighing two balances there. One says you have a bunch of people selecting someone that is going to come to council that they're not going to work with, but at the same time you have a group of inexperienced people coming in, and I'm the only one that is on council with 2 years of council. So you have two factors weighing in there, and I think really that's for you to decide more than any of us. Unfortunately, it's your spot. The citizens elected you to always make the best decision for the city, and only that's your right. That's your elected right.
How about we would go to executive session next meeting and make a decision on it?
If that's allowable.
Yeah, I'm betting you'll be able to, but obviously whatever we do, I want to make sure it's bulletproof.
Yeah,
If we can, we will.
I mean, the process itself, I don't even know, I mean, I don't mind having that discussion in public. The process we go about, I don't,
I
but
don't either.
Yeah. You don't have to decide tonight.
And it really is like Mr. Farrell said, I mean, at the end of the day, you're choosing when you leave, and that will ultimately
I just want to make it
decide.
easy for you guys, and I don't want to stand in the way, is I guess what I'm saying.
Thank
That
you.
makes sense. I want to make sure it's fair and that they get to, I shouldn't have any say-so on that because I'm the one leaving.
Why don't we have some offline conversations? We can discuss that. But to everyone's point, it quite literally is Mr.
Well-
Muterspa. You say when you vacate,
Okay.
and then they say who to appoint.
I'll know
They
something.
maybe this current counselor, or maybe the next one, depending on whatever you say.
I will tell you that since Rick McCrabb's retiring at the end of this month, he may be a great fill-in, journal reporter.
Does he get moving expenses to move to the city of Middletown? Is that a part of it? Is it part of the negotiation package?
I'm sure he'd love to get into executive sessions now.
I bet you would.
I'd like to make I'm just kidding. The other thing I was going to say was I don't know when we want this next special meeting, but I'm happy to call that special meeting, Amy. So if you wanted to
Can I
maybe
make contact with you tomorrow?
canvass, the
I'm
other
going to make
council
sure when
members.
Tal's getting back, and,
Right. Yeah. So I'm happy to call that. So just let me know.
okay. I'll contact you tomorrow.
Okay. Any other new business? Okay. With that, we will reconvene. We're not sure when next. Currently, we're scheduled for November 21st at 5:30 p.m. here in council chambers. We'll probably meet before then. Good luck to all the candidates. I'm sure everyone's going to go home and refresh their screens on the regular tonight and see who's going to be sitting up here in a couple months. So until then, blue skies over Middletown.